Boyfriend on Demand tries to convince you real boyfriends are better than virtual ones, and I'm not sure it succeeds. We follow Seo Mi-rae, a webtoon producer and professional recluse who hasn't touched the dating scene since a devastating breakup. Enter our male lead, Park Kyeong-nam, a coworker who is equally socially stunted. When Mi-rae is tapped to beta test a virtual dating device, she finally starts interacting with the world. Just not the real one. In this digital space, she can live out any trope. The rich chaebol, the high-stakes airplane heist, or the classic college romance. Plus, you get a killer wardrobe and food you can actually taste. Honestly, I don't think I'd leave either, and Mi-rae barely does. I actually crunched the numbers. For the first half of this series, we spend a whopping 35% of our time with virtual boyfriends. Meanwhile, our supposed lead, Kyeong-nam, is stuck with about 11% of the screen time. And guys, it is not quality time. Their interactions revolve entirely around coffee, taxis, and work. It's awkward. It lacks substance. And whenever you think they're finally going to connect, like at the company retreat, Kyeong-nam gets instantly trashed, fixates on bottle lids, and has to be put to bed by his coworkers. There is zero development. So when he suddenly confesses he has a crush on her at the midway point, she was confused. And I was a little bit offended, because at this point I'm sitting there like, did I miss an episode? Now, here's where the plot almost gets interesting. Mi-rae discovers her main virtual squeeze is cheating on her with thousands of other subscribers. This opens the door to tons of interesting thematic plot points, like the ethics of AI, predatory subscription systems, and the dangers of replacing reality with a curated fantasy. And the show acknowledges all of that, and then closes the door and quietly walks away. There are no real consequences. Mi-rae doesn't struggle with the cost. Her work problems are completely unrelated, and the story never really forces her to confront what she's doing. It's a cautionary tale that just forgot to caution anyone. And this is where the show makes a choice that completely broke the story for me. In peak K-drama logic, the game lets her create a bespoke, individualized boyfriend. Of course, this AI-generated dream guy looks exactly like Kyeong-nam. You know, the man she had absolutely no chemistry with. Only now, he has red hair and a motorcycle. Because nothing says soulmate like a palette swap and a Ducati. And I could have gone with it. I really could have. But what's frustrating is that up to this point, the show has given us precisely zero reason to believe she's even remotely interested in him. So instead of feeling clever, it just feels kind of ridiculous. And that's where the show really lost me. It's only after she dates his digital twin that she starts noticing the real version exists. We get a few episodes of slightly more interaction, and just as she's about to fall for him, the cyber boyfriend taps directly into her fear of relationships changing, which, to be fair, is one of the few moments that actually connects back to her character. But then, we hit the final stretch. They go on what is essentially an entire relationship's worth of dates in one episode. Episode 9 of 10, to be precise. Yes, they wait until the penultimate episode to show them truly connecting. And then, in the final episode, we get the mandatory almost breakup. Have these guys seen a K-drama before? That is episode 7 stuff, people. The reason for the relationship problems, the relationship that just started 5 minutes ago, is that Kyeong-nam finds out about his virtual doppelganger. Things get icy, there's some brooding, and then he decides that because he was her ideal type in the simulation, that must mean she really likes him. Happy ending. As for the subplots, well, there's a plagiarizing webtoon writer who's an absolute nightmare. She starts terrible, has one moment of slight growth, and then goes back to being terrible, suffering no consequences for it. And then there's the ex-boyfriend storyline. The show begins with Mi-rae finding out her ex-boyfriend is getting married. This is one of the few things they do really well in the show. I felt way more attached to her ex-boyfriend in the flashbacks than I ever did to Kyeong-nam. He is the reason she feared change, which was one of the few good conflict points. But then, they just completely dropped this subplot. I was really hoping they would meet again at the end, and instead of being resentful, she could show her growth by being truly happy for him. But nah, none of that. Now, I know this review has been a lot, but it's not all bad. I really enjoyed Jisoo's performance as Mi-rae. She made the character feel relatable and grounded, and managed to pull off cute without tipping into cloying. And visually, the virtual world was genuinely fun to watch. But at the end of all this, I still wasn't convinced the real relationship was better. Unfortunately, even a strong lead and a beautiful concept couldn't save the writing for me. So I'm giving it 2.5 out of 5 Soju bottles. If you're into the gruff, stoic type who actually earns the romance over time, you'll probably like Henry from My Time Travel Story, Beneath the Destiny Stone. Stick around for a clip of the audiobook at the end. This is the moment Fiona starts to realize Henry might actually be a little bit of a problem, in a good way. But before we get to that, I want to know, were you rooting for Kyeong-nam, or did you prefer the virtual boyfriends? Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next review of the story of Park's marriage contract. I'm already a couple episodes in, and I'll tell you now, I am loving it. And now, as promised, here's a clip from Beneath the Destiny Stone. Enjoy!
Hi, Tiffany. I've had a grand day. You will not believe who stopped by the farm. The Earl of Sutherland's whole boy. She gave an ear-splitting shriek. I'm in love. He told me all about the castle. As she prattled on, my mind drifted to her farm. I liked cows. In fact, cows were the only thing I liked better in this time. They were way tinier than modern cows, more like large dogs, and I found them irresistibly cute. I'd never made cheese before, but I could learn. Maybe I could convince her to teach me if I could just get her to shut up long enough to ask. Of course you ken what I'm talking about, living with that bro gem of a man. Uh-huh, I said, because her intonation seemed to require it, but then her words seeped in and I laughed. You mean Henry? She fanned her face. Who else would I mean? Of course, I said with mock earnestness. What, you dinna think so? Her wide, vacant eyes nearly bugged out of her face. I mean, okay, he was ripped, and his hair fell so silkily about his shoulders he could have been a Pantene model. But, come on, his nose was precisely one size too big for his face. I bit my bottom lip. Okay, I kinda liked his nose. With those dark, long lashes, his face would be too pretty without a hefty schnoz. Besides, it gave him character. Physical appearance aside, though, the dude needed about 5 good years of counseling before he'd be marriage material, and somehow I didn't think medieval Perth had too many therapy clinics.